Okay, so this is the BMW i4, and the very first thing that I noticed when I got in it is that it has some fake sounds, specifically a bit of, it honestly sounds like warp drive, like from Star Trek. It feels very strange, but it feels very much like a normal car in here. It feels very, you know, sort of a standard BMW, standard materials. The steering wheel is a sort of soft touch, I think faux leather, which kind of makes sense, but it's a little soft, little give to it. But okay, nice enough materials, doesn't feel cheap or anything. You have some, well, what I assume is fake carbon fiber, but maybe real stuff? Maybe. But feels all right in here. All right, it does go. It picks up. It definitely picks up. Oh. Let's see how it handles then, eh? We're on the handling course here at Millbrook on the hill route, and wow, feels pretty good so far. The warp sound definitely sounds better when you're full throttle. Yeah, that instant torque is not bad. Feels pretty composed. Oh dear. You can definitely throw it around. The weight, you can feel it a little down at the bottom. It feels heavy, like not the steering's light as all hell, but oh, it does. You can feel the tires rolling over as you throw it in compared to a standard 4 Series. I've driven an M4 at Donington and it feels a lot less, well, the M4 feels a lot lighter, it feels a lot smoother. Obviously the smoothness and quietness of this drivetrain definitely means you get a more relaxed driving experience for sure. But my God, it picks up. Oh, the instant torque is fantastic. Oh God, yeah. That's good. All right, this is good fun. I like it, I like it. The regen braking feels pretty strong. I don't know what mode I'm in. I have not looked up. I've been rather busy concentrating on driving because I'd rather not crash BMW's rather nice car, funnily enough. What's weird is that even the accelerator is incredibly light. It's incredibly easy to even just accidentally nudge it. And the map does require you to be smooth with the throttle pedal. You can't just, you know, mash it like you can in like a lower power car. You do have to be careful about your throttle input like you would on a standard high performance, you know, car, BMW, whatever. It also seems to handle quite well on the smooth and flat. You know, you get a rather compliant ride, I suppose is the right words. The maneuverability, even, you know, sort of what you might call country lane driving, feels pretty good, feels definitely planted. You can feel that the weight's low down, which gives you a fairly secure feel, even if you can still feel the weight is definitely there. You definitely have to balance the power well. And I could see with the traction control turned off, I could imagine this is layery. Okay, that's good fun. That is good fun. I must admit that I am not liking the sounds. The sounds are very, oh, that's interesting. It put it into stability mode, like it cut power completely. Well, as a fun car, as something to hoon around on the countryside, BMW have definitely done a good job here. As for the practicality, well, it's hard to judge that on a 10-minute test ride, but overall it seems pretty decent. You have a decent amount of boot space, you've got plenty of room in the back for some passengers, even in this sort of coupe model, and you have a generally nice driving experience in a both obviously fun manner, but also in a more, you know, relaxed go to work as a commuter vehicle. It's still pretty decent, so yeah, not too bad. I've only just noticed that I have a heads-up display as well. I think that would be more distracting because it's sort of holographic, which means that I'm kind of having to sort of cross my eyes to look at it. It's a bit blurry. But the infotainment display, which is semi-merged with the driver's display, looks really nice. Rather vibrant colors and rather a nice look. I think the only thing is that a lot of it's cut off by the steering wheel from where I have it, and this is a comfortable place for me, so 6.5 a dozen. Currently listed 84% battery range and 179 miles of range left. And well, everybody who's driving this has been hooning it all morning, so that's actually not too bad. Although it's only been sort of driven since, well, about 40 minutes ago, and it's already down to 84%. I don't know what percentage it arrives at here today, but yeah. No, I'd say this is good fun. So we're now in the Audi Q4 e-tron, and this is, I would say, just a bit more futuristic in its design. The fact that the steering wheel isn't round nor just like flat bottomed, it's like almost hexagonal. All of the angles, all of the faces, everything feels very futuristic, I think is the only word I can think of, which is fine. I'll leave it to you for how you fancy, thinking about it, but I don't know, it's pretty decent. It feels a lot more relaxed than the BMW i4. Yeah, this definitely feels a lot more like a relaxed, refined experience. This feels a lot more like a family car than it does a sports car. When I got in the BMW i4, it felt very much like an M4. It felt fast, it felt racy, it felt heavily responsive, whereas this, at least in its default mode, feels a lot more floaty, a lot more, like a comfortable cruiser family car, which is kind of what it's designed for. Makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, it is still a nice enough experience. Being an SUV crossover-esque type thing, it does feel more disconnected. The steering is definitely, I would say, light. And even the sort of feel from the road surface just feels a bit more disconnected. It feels a little bit more like you're gliding along the road rather than you're, driving along the road, if that makes any sense. Oh, it feels really heavy and the brakes are not fantastic. Oh, that almost understeered. Okay, I need to... This is not as capable as the i4, damn. This feels a lot more like a boat. I definitely feel taller, and I definitely feel like I have less control over the car. Although I think if I'm feeling that right, the brake pedal, I'm not actually stepping on the brakes that much. I'm mostly stepping on the regenerative braking, which when you let off is functionally not there. You do have paddles on the back, which I believe can change that, but I'm definitely on regen when I'm pushing on the brake pedal rather than the physical brakes. You can feel the difference, and you can feel when the physical brakes start to bite, and it gives you a different feel when you start feeling a bit more feedback. Yeah, you definitely have to push a lot harder on the pedal than you would expect you need to, for sure. It feels a lot less... Well, it still feels very planted. All of the weight is down at the bottom thanks to the skateboard battery pack, but it's just not quite as a secure driving experience, if you might say. It's not a sports car, but again, it's not meant to be. It's meant to be a relatively fast but otherwise, comfortable family car, and I can see that making sense. The steering being light is a good thing for this kind of vehicle. It has plenty of power to get you even over this incredibly high rise, and it's a sort of comfortable place to be, even if I am concerned that the brakes don't work quite as well as I thought. Or it's not that they don't work, it's that they feel different, and it's a bit of a learning curve to get used to. Whereas with the BMW, when you let off, you get full regen, and when you get on the brakes, you're on the brakes, which I think I prefer. Oh, it's a bit bumpy. The suspension's just a little bit stiff, and it sort of wallows, or to quote the common term in F1, porpoises around. This is definitely an on-road cruiser. The suspension definitely feels heavier than I was expecting it to. It's still perfectly fine, it's perfectly comfortable, but it does feel a little bit stiffer while still having quite a lot of body roll, which is a confusing mix for the average person. And the brake pedal is something you definitely need to get used to. I could imagine, you know, I'm quite glad that I'm doing this on a closed course, because if I wasn't, I might be concerned that I would like run a red light or run into onto a roundabout, because this takes a bit of getting used to. And this is a Mercedes EQS. This is not quite as comparable as the rest of the cars, but considering we're here driving some expensive cars, why not go for the most expensive? This is it's pretty ludicrously expensive actually, but I must admit, when you get in and you shut the door, you can hear and you can feel that expense in the best way possible. If you want to live an opulent life, this is definitely a car that you'd be interested in doing that in. Honestly, everything about this car screams luxury. You have the most sort of luxurious materials, you have a very refined and smooth driving experience, the powertrain is silent. In fact, almost everything in here is silent, and it is a very refined experience. Except for that brake pedal. Oh man, that's interesting. That is an interesting choice. There are some cars that do the braking as a standard regen function, and then some of them do it just purely based on the pedal, and this one, at least in its normal setting, does it based on the pedal. If I tap the regen button, then it gets to the increased regen mode. It still pulls though, and what's funny is that it's the many intelligent systems have clocked that it's a 50 mile an hour, and my heads-up display, which is much clearer than the one in the BMW, is flashing at me, telling me that I'm going too quickly, which is nice. It doesn't matter. I'm on a closed course. I'm a professional trained driver, sort of, and this is a relaxing experience despite going ridiculously quickly, minus the brake pedal. Although actually in its increased regen mode, this is incredibly heavy on the brakes, or I suppose on the regen. It is properly, grabbing on that pedal. Although interestingly, it seems to depress the pedal while you're at it. It seems to, like, there's a lot of travel in the pedal if you're in this regen mode, and man, this thing feels heavy. Let's give it a boot up the hill though. Oh, it still shifts. It still shifts. Oh, but it's a boat. Oh, it's a boat. Oh, it's a boat. I should not be going this fast and this expensive and this luxurious of a car. I did just hit the ABS. That's how much, I suppose what lack of braking you have in this. It definitely feels less sturdy on the brakes than I would really like it to for this weight, this power. It's definitely not quite as, comforting or supportive. Although I just realized it's doing active braking, which is nice. I noticed there, what I was saying about the pedal being depressed, that's true. What happens is, in its maximum regen mode, it depresses the brake pedal for you when regen braking, which is something that, while I understand, is not something that I'm the most comfortable with personally. It feels a little bit uncomfortable to have that pedal be braking for me, and yeah, I'm going down quite a steep hill, and I am having to push the brake pedal to the floor to make it slow down enough. I can't say that I'm confident in the braking feel here. Interestingly, in sport mode, I can hear a little whine of fake noise. There's extra noise. Oh God, it's all very spaceship-like. It's all very, we're going into hyperdrive, we've engaged maximum warp. It's very, that. I'm not sure how I like it. And the brake pedal still feels weird. But of course, performance driving isn't what this is for. This is a luxury vehicle. We're in comfort mode, and I can see how you could sit back and cruise on this for probably hours on end, or for however long your range gets you. It says that the maximum range is 347 miles and the current range is 327, with just over 80% range in the tank, which is pretty impressive. And I would actually be kind of surprised if you can get that, but it feels like a very soft, a very compliant, a very floaty ride in the sort of way that you would expect from, well, an S-Class. We're going to go over some suspension bumps. We'll have a look and see how it feels. It's not quite as floaty as the Porsche Taycan. You definitely feel them, but it's certainly a comfortable enough experience in general. As far as floating around bends, you don't get much body roll even in comfort mode. I mean, it's still a nice enough kind of position. It's still a nice sort of flat spot, but it definitely floats. It glides quite nicely. You definitely don't hear any road noise here, which you would expect, but is rather nice. I think in its maximum regen mode, it's pretty comfortable. It's a pretty nice experience. You get a very soft, it's almost a slow roll onto the braking or the regen, and it's quite strong when it does get there. The fact that the brake pedal moves away from you, though, is a bit disconcerting. It feels a bit almost uncomfortable as the brake pedal just walks itself away. I'm not so happy about that. But my God, it's a nice experience in here. You can definitely see where your money goes in this thing. All of the materials, all of the ride quality, the build quality, everything is truly top notch, and it's just a nice feel. It's a nice place to be for sure. There's plenty of space in here as well for, if you want to use this as a luxury sort of concierge. You can definitely have a good time in the front or the back. I think it's a nice place to be. And you definitely have enough power to engage in any overtakes you need. Get the peasants out of your way, Also, the extra £8,000 buys you a second screen where a glove box would normally be, and it's fully separated from the main sort of infotainment display. It is. You can also have your own profiles, so if you have your kids or your partners or whatever, they want to see the maps, they want to navigate for you, they want to change the music, whatever, they can all do that on that screen without affecting what's on your two main screens. And I should also mention that the the driver's instrument cluster is controlled from the steering wheel with a set of sort of semi-touch sensitive buttons. You press the little home, you can then swipe around on this, and you get your different options for augmented reality and the eco display, sport mode, that sort of thing. And you can also change, if you go back down, if I can make it happen, which it's a bit finicky. The touch controls, I think you definitely need to get used to them to control them accurately. But when you do get there, it's you have your options for different maps and things, or the different gauge clusters, the range modes and things, which makes a lot of sense. And you can control the main sort of infotainment display, as it were, with the same set of controls, but on the left-hand side of the steering wheel. You got the same home button and the gestures to move that around as well. I also got the chance to drive the Audi e-tron GT, which, despite being very similar, in fact the same platform as the Porsche Taycan that I drove last year, was an insane amount of fun. It was great to absolutely hoon it around the hill routes. It felt, as you would expect, the instant torque and the very quick throttle response. Incredibly fun to just plant your foot and feel like you are very much in a spaceship, even if you do have the spaceship noises to go with it. It felt well planted. It felt very easy to handle around the hill route as well. Felt like I had plenty of grip, and honestly the SMMT day in general was just great fun to hoon around all these cars and to have a go, to chat to some of the PR reps as well.
It was just a great event and very much enjoy going, and well, you can look forward to some more content both in the future and some more content because of the event as well. If you want to stay up to date on that content, you can hit that subscribe button. If you want to check out the last video on the more everyday EVs, you can check that out on the end cards just here. And otherwise, that's kind of it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video.